She had always dreamed of a happy ending. Since childhood, the stories she heard enchanted her. They were full of love, overcoming challenges, and happy conclusions. Over the years, this ideal had become an expectation. She believed that life, much like the tales she cherished, should also follow a positive plotline. But reality is relentless and often cruel. At 35, she faced an unexpected twist. After years dedicated to a career she was passionate about, a sudden layoff made her question everything. The stability she had was like an iceberg floating in calm waters, but suddenly began to melt away. What troubled her most was not just the loss of her job, but what it meant for her dreams and aspirations. She faced frustration and sleepless nights. Doubts began to plague her mind. What if I can't find something better? What if this is my only chance? These thoughts plunged her into a state of uncertainty that seemed endless. What had once been a bright future had now turned into a foggy horizon, where the chances of success felt increasingly distant. During this tumultuous time, she decided to take a step back for a moment. The solitude led her to reflect on her choices, her relationships, and her expectations. Through conversations with friends, she realized that many people around her also faced unexpected outcomes, stories of love that didn't work out, opportunities that slipped away, and decisions that seemed right but resulted in pain. Life, after all, is not a fairy tale. Time passed, and amidst the chaos, she began to find new paths. She enrolled in courses she had always wanted to take, started exploring hidden passions, and connected with people she had never known before. Gradually, the small iceberg of her hopes began to rise again, but not without the scars of past experiences. She realized that what seemed like a sad ending was, in fact, a new beginning, full of possibilities. Life didn't give her the ending she expected, but it offered something equally valuable: the ability to reinvent herself. Over time, she learned to accept that pain and uncertainty are part of the journey. Instead of fighting against it, she decided to embrace the vulnerability and fragility that life brings. She discovered that, even in unexpected outcomes, there was room for growth and learning. Looking back didn't make her sadder. Instead, it taught her about resilience. And so, day by day, she grew stronger, more aware, and more authentic. Life, in its twists and turns, had taught her a valuable lesson. It wasn't about controlling the outcome, but about how to adapt and find beauty in imperfection. In the end, she smiled, not because everything was perfect, but because she had learned to dance with the uncertainties of life. Her story didn't end as she expected, but what emerged was a new narrative, a story of courage and transformation. After all, the best endings are not always the ones we anticipate, but those that teach us to cherish every step of the journey. She began to explore new areas she had previously not considered. The first step was enrolling in a photography course, a passion that had always been dormant. Each click became a form of expression, a way to tell stories that had only existed in her mind before. Interacting with other students brought a fresh energy to her life. Conversations about art, light, and angles became part of her daily routine. She realized she wasn't alone in her insecurities. Others shared their struggles, doubts, and victories. This exchange of experiences made her feel part of a community. The loneliness that had accompanied her for so long began to dissipate. A new friendship emerged. It was someone who had also faced professional upheavals. Together, they talked about the challenges of the job market, about how difficult it was to rebuild after a fall. This friendship became a pillar in her life. They also began to support each other in other areas: travel, hobbies, and even their personal lives. Sharing dreams and fears became a foundation for both of them. Amid this new phase, she decided she wanted to do something meaningful, something that truly connected her with her essence. After months of reflection, she began volunteering at an NGO that served young people in vulnerable situations. This experience was transformative. By engaging with the life stories of those young people, she found a greater purpose. Every smile, every achievement made her realize that despite her own difficulties, there was always something worth fighting for. With each visit to the NGO, she felt more alive. The stories of overcoming she heard there sparked in her a desire to help even more. It wasn't just about teaching, but also about learning. The lessons the young people shared were deep and impactful. She began to realize that life had a special way of teaching her to value every moment. Additionally, photography became a powerful tool for this new phase. She started capturing experiences at the NGO, documenting the essence of the young people she met. These portraits turned into exhibitions that showcased the strength and beauty present in each story. Art became a channel for social transformation and, at the same time, a way to express her own journey. Over time, the insecurities that had once paralyzed her began to fade. She allowed herself to fail. She allowed herself to make mistakes. In every mistake, there was a new opportunity for learning. She learned that the path to success wasn't linear, but filled with twists and turns that made the journey richer and more interesting. And most importantly, life wasn't just about professional achievements, but about experiences that shaped her as a human being. The relationships she nurtured during this new phase became essential. She reconnected with old friends who were also facing their own struggles. Together, they exchanged stories, advice, and laughter. This support network strengthened her resilience and made her realize that even in tough times, she could rely on people who understood her. Gradually, she found herself more confident in her abilities. Photography became an integral part of her life. The exhibitions she held attracted the attention of new audiences, and eventually she received offers to work on freelance photography projects. This new direction excited her. With each new project came a new challenge, but also a fresh chance to reintegrate into the creative world. She started attending art fairs and events, expanding her network and meeting inspiring people. The creative environment, which had once felt distant, now became part of her daily life. She realized that life was made of connections. Each person she met, every story she heard, contributed to her own narrative. What had once seemed a tragic ending now felt like a symphony of new opportunities. She began to love herself more, to appreciate everything she had overcome. The vulnerability that had once plagued her was now seen as a sign of strength. She understood that the scars she carried were part of her story, a testament to her ability to reinvent herself. Over time, she reflected on how life had shaped her. Every obstacle, every challenge had contributed to the woman she had become. Accepting her imperfections and understanding that life doesn't follow a defined script were essential. Her journey wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. Every step, every choice led her to a place where happiness was not an endpoint, but a continuous journey. And so she learned to live fully, cherishing each moment, each small victory. Instead of clinging to the past, she embraced the present. Life, with its uncertainties, became a dance. And in the end, she smiled, not because everything was resolved, but because she had found beauty in imperfection and in the fluidity of her own story. Her life began to gain a new rhythm. With each photography project, she allowed herself to explore different themes and styles. Photography was not just a form of art, but a way to connect with the world around her. She started documenting everyday life, the small joys and the struggles of others, capturing moments that many might consider ordinary, but which, for her, held immense depth. During this time, she also became more active on social media, sharing her photographs and the stories behind them. The feedback she received from the audience motivated her even more. Messages of support and encouragement helped her realize that her art had the power to impact people. It was no longer just about her. Now her images told stories that resonated in the lives of others. Gradually, she began to receive invitations to exhibit her work in local galleries. Each new exhibition was an opportunity to showcase not only her talent, but also the voices of those she encountered on her journey. She felt grateful to be able to share these stories and to have found such a meaningful purpose. The connection with the audience transformed her, and the energy she received at each event motivated her to keep going. Over time, she realized that her passion for photography was intertwining with her desire to help others. So, she decided that she wanted to do more than just document lives. She wanted to create spaces where people could express themselves freely. Thus, she began organizing photography workshops for young people in vulnerable situations. She wanted them to see themselves as the protagonists of their own stories. The workshops were a success. Each click became a form of self-affirmation. She saw in them the same passion that had driven her at the beginning. Photography became a vehicle of empowerment, allowing them to explore their identities and narratives. For her, it was a transformative and enriching experience. Meanwhile, her own fears and insecurities continued to surface from time to time. Sometimes she found herself questioning whether she was truly living up to the expectations of both the children and herself. But instead of letting that bring her down, she decided to use those emotions as fuel. She sought help in support groups and therapy, where she learned to cope with her anxieties and to value her achievements. Those moments of reflection helped her understand that everyone has their internal struggles. No one is immune to doubt, and that didn't make her any less capable or valuable. This new perspective made her feel more connected to others. By sharing her vulnerabilities, she inspired the young people to do the same. Authenticity became a pillar of the relationships she cultivated. Her involvement with the NGO and the workshops not only broadened her view of the world, but also made her realize the importance of taking care of herself. She began to practice self-compassion. She set aside time for herself to relax, reflect, and recharge. She learned the importance of establishing healthy boundaries in both her personal and professional life. Photography, which had once been an isolated passion, became a space for collaboration and creativity. She collaborated with other artists and organizations, joining forces for projects that addressed social and cultural issues. These projects helped her expand her network and strengthen her sense of community. The synergy that came from these collaborations was invigorating, and each new project made her feel alive and inspired. Over time, she also began to write. Writing became an extension of her artistic expression. She shared her reflections on life, the challenges she faced, and the lessons learned. Each piece was an opportunity to connect with others on a deeper level. Her writings found an audience that resonated with her experiences, and she realized that her words could offer comfort and hope to those going through tough times. The impact she was having extended beyond just the children at the NGO or the visitors to her exhibitions. She started receiving messages from people who felt inspired by her journey. The stories of resilience that she shared sparked meaningful dialogues, and the community supported her in ways she had never imagined. This mutual support became a network of strength and resilience where everyone learned from one another. Looking back, she realized how each challenge had transformed into an opportunity for growth. Her experiences shaped her, but they did not define her. The acceptance of her imperfections and her ability to reinvent herself became her greatest strengths. She learned to look at life with gratitude, recognizing that every detour had taken her to a better place than she had imagined. She also began to dream again, but now her dreams were different. It was no longer about finding a perfect ending, but about fully living each chapter of her life. Each day was a new page to be written, full of possibilities. She allowed herself to explore new interests, such as cooking and dancing, areas that had always intrigued her, but that she had never permitted herself to try. Her path was no longer linear, and that brought her peace. She learned that the beauty of life lies in its unpredictability. The twists and turns, the surprises, and even the falls became integral parts of her narrative. In every new project or experience, she felt more connected to what truly mattered: authenticity, empathy, and the ability to love and be loved. And so, as she walked through this new phase of life, she realized that the true happy ending was not a destination, but a journey in constant evolution. Each step she took brought her closer to her true essence, and she felt ready to face any challenge that might arise. Life, with its uncertainties, had become a dance, and she was determined to dance with joy and courage. She decided it was time to expand her horizons even further. Photography and volunteering had become pillars of her life, but there was a part of her that craved more challenges. It was then, during a conversation with a friend, that the idea of holding an exhibition that combined art and social awareness emerged. The project would start with a call for local artists and young people from the NGO, where each could express their stories through different forms of art. This collaborative space would not only enhance the visibility of local talent, but also create a dialogue about social issues that were often overlooked. Enthusiasm for the idea grew quickly, and she found herself immersed in organizing the event. The first step was to gather the artists. She organized a meeting in a community space where everyone could share their ideas and experiences. The atmosphere was charged with energy and creativity. The young people from the NGO brought their stories and unique perspectives on life, while the more experienced artists offered guidance and support. The exchange of ideas was enriching. They discussed themes such as inclusion, identity, and overcoming challenges. Each artist had a different vision, bringing a diversity of voices that would enrich the project. During these meetings, she realized that collaboration was a powerful way to create change. The stories intertwined, forming a tapestry of experiences that reflected the complexity of life. As the event approached, she dedicated herself to every detail, from choosing the venue to promoting it. The chosen space was an old art gallery, with bare walls waiting to be filled with the creative expressions of the participants. The idea was to transform the gallery into a vibrant space where each piece told a story. In the week leading up to the exhibition, the anxiety and excitement were palpable. She organized a series of workshops for the youth, where they could finalize their works and learn more about how to present their stories. The workshops were an opportunity not only to create art, but also to build confidence. Each of them began to feel like part of something larger, a movement that celebrated their voices. On the day of the opening, the gallery was packed. Friends, family, and community members came out to support the young artists. The atmosphere was one of celebration and empowerment. Each displayed artwork reflected not only technical skill, but also the courage to share intimate and often painful experiences. She felt moved to see the young artists interacting with the visitors. Conversations flowed naturally. The pride on their faces was evident. Each was there to tell their story and, in doing so, inspire others to express themselves. The exhibition was not just an art showcase, it was a testament to the strength of the community. The night culminated in a panel discussion, where the young artists were able to speak about their works and the meaning behind them. This was a valuable opportunity for them to connect with the audience on a deeper level. The questions and comments from visitors showed that their stories resonated with many people. She realized that art had the power to unite and transform. After the event, the impact was significant. The exhibition caught the attention of local media and sparked discussions about the issues raised. She began receiving invitations to present the project in other communities. What started as a simple idea had grown into a larger movement, a call to action, to give a voice to those who had often been silenced. With the success of the exhibition, she felt a wave of accomplishment. The dream of connecting art and social activism had become a reality. But, more importantly, she realized she was creating a space where life stories intertwined, providing a sense of belonging and mutual support. The cycle of learning and growth continued. She dedicated herself to developing a mentorship program where more experienced artists could guide the youth in their creative journeys. This initiative not only strengthened the bonds among participants, but also ensured that stories continued to be told and valued. Photography, which had once been a form of personal expression, now transformed into a tool for social change. She began documenting the NGO's activities and exhibitions, creating a visual archive that illustrated the evolution of the young artists and their achievements. These images became part of a larger narrative, showing how art could serve as a means of transformation. She also recognized the importance of taking care of her own mental health throughout this process. The intense experiences she encountered, while rewarding, could also be draining. Thus, she started setting aside time for herself, engaging in activities that helped her recharge, such as meditation and outdoor walks. These moments of self-care became essential for maintaining her balance. She learned the importance of respecting her limits and not overloading herself. This not only helped her become a more effective leader, but also allowed her to be an example for the young people she was guiding. Over time, the NGO became a benchmark in the community. The collaborative art project inspired other similar initiatives in different locations. They began to receive support from local businesses and non-profit organizations that recognized the value in the work they were doing. This new phase of her life brought a renewed sense of purpose. She felt connected to something greater than herself, participating in a movement that promoted inclusion and diversity. The stories that were once contained now flourished in a safe space where everyone could be heard and valued. With each new exhibition and every conversation, she remembered just how much she had grown. The disillusionment that once paralyzed her was now a distant memory, replaced by a new narrative of hope and resilience. She allowed herself to celebrate her achievements, both big and small, recognizing that every step she took led her to a place of authenticity and connection. As she continued her journey, she committed to never forget the lessons learned. The vulnerability that once haunted her was now a source of strength. She knew that regardless of what the future held, she was ready to face new challenges and embrace life's uncertainties with courage. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and eyes set on the future, she was ready to write the next chapters of her story. Each day was a new opportunity to learn, grow, and make an impact on those around her. Life, with all its twists and turns, had become a dance, and she was determined to dance with joy and purpose. She decided it was time to broaden her horizons even further. Photography and volunteering had become pillars of her life, but there was a part of her that yearned for more challenges. It was then that, during a conversation with a friend, the idea of organizing an exhibition that combined art and social awareness emerged. The project would start with a call for local artists and the youth from the NGO, inviting each person to express their stories through different art forms. This collaborative space would not only enhance the visibility of local talent, but also spark a dialogue about social issues that were often overlooked. The excitement for the idea grew rapidly, and she found herself immersed in organizing the event. The first step was to gather the artists. She organized a meeting in a community space where everyone could share their ideas and experiences. The atmosphere was charged with energy and creativity. The young people from the NGO shared their stories and unique perspectives on life, while the more experienced artists offered guidance and support. The exchange of ideas was enriching. They discussed themes like inclusion, identity, and overcoming challenges. Each artist had a different vision, bringing in a diversity of voices that enriched the project. During these meetings, she realized that collaboration was a powerful way to create change. The stories interwove, forming a tapestry of experiences that reflected the complexity of life. With each meeting, the connection among the participants strengthened. As the event drew closer, she focused on every detail, from selecting the venue to promoting it. The chosen space was an old art gallery, with bare walls waiting to be filled with the creative expressions of the participants. The idea was to transform the gallery into a vibrant space, where each piece told a story. During the week of the exhibition, the anxiety and excitement were palpable. She organized a series of workshops for the young people where they could finish their artwork and learn more about how to present their stories. The workshops were an opportunity not just to create art but also to build confidence. Each of them began to feel part of something larger, a movement that celebrated their voices. On the day of the opening, the gallery was packed. Friends, family, and community members came out to support the young artists. The atmosphere was one of celebration and empowerment. Each exhibited piece reflected not only technical skill, but also the courage to share intimate and often painful experiences. She felt emotional seeing the young people interacting with the visitors. The conversations flowed naturally. The pride on their faces was evident. Each person was there to share their story, and in doing so inspire others to express themselves. The exhibition was not just an art show, it was a testament to the strength of the community. The evening culminated in a panel discussion where the young artists could talk about their works and the meaning behind them. This was a valuable opportunity for them to connect with the audience on a deeper level. The questions and comments from visitors showed that the stories resonated with many people. She realized that art had the power to unite and transform. After the event, the impact was significant. The exhibition caught the attention of local media and sparked discussions about the issues addressed. She began receiving invitations to present the project in other communities. What started as a simple idea grew into a larger movement, a call to action, to give voice to those who were often silenced. With the success of the exhibition, she felt a wave of fulfillment. The dream of connecting art and social activism had come to fruition. But more importantly, she realized she was creating a space where life stories intertwined, providing a sense of belonging and mutual support. The cycle of learning and growth continued. She dedicated herself to developing a mentoring program where more experienced artists could guide the young ones in their creative journeys. This initiative not only strengthened the bonds among the participants, but also ensured that their stories continued to be told and valued. Photography, which had once been a form of personal expression, now transformed into a tool for social change. She began documenting the NGO's activities and exhibitions, creating a visual archive that illustrated the growth of the young artists and their achievements. These images became part of a larger narrative that demonstrated how art could be a means of transformation. She also recognized the importance of taking care of her own mental health throughout this process. The intense experiences she went through, while rewarding, could be exhausting. So she started setting aside time for herself, engaging in activities that helped her recharge, such as meditation and outdoor walks. These moments of self-care became essential to maintaining her balance. She learned the importance of respecting her limits and not overburdening herself. This not only helped her to be a more effective leader, but also allowed her to be a role model for the young people she mentored. Over time, the non-profit organization became a reference point in the community. The collaborative art project inspired other similar initiatives in different locations. They began to receive support from local businesses and non-profits that saw the value in the work they were doing. This new phase of her life brought a renewed sense of purpose. She felt connected to something greater than herself, participating in a movement that promoted inclusion and diversity. The stories that were once contained now flourished in a safe space where everyone could be heard and valued. With each new exhibition, with every new conversation, she remembered how much she had grown. The disillusionment that once paralyzed her was now a distant memory, replaced by a new narrative of hope and resilience. She allowed herself to celebrate her achievements, big and small, recognizing that every step taken led her to a place of authenticity and connection. As she continued her journey, she committed to never forget the lessons learned. The vulnerability that once troubled her was now a source of strength. She knew that, regardless of what the future held, she was ready to face new challenges and embrace the uncertainties of life with courage. And so, with a heart full of gratitude and a gaze directed toward the future, she was prepared to write the next chapters of her story. Each day was a new opportunity to learn, grow, and impact the lives of those around her. Life, with all its twists and turns, had become a dance, and she was determined to dance with joy and purpose. She realized that, in addition to her work at the NGO and the exhibitions, there was a growing need to talk about mental health. Many of the stories she heard from young people reflected the internal struggles they faced. Thus, she decided it was time to include this theme in her projects. She began organizing lectures and workshops on mental health, inviting professionals in the field to share knowledge and promote emotional well-being. The goal was to demystify the topic and provide practical tools to cope with anxiety and social pressure. The sessions were open to everyone, regardless of age or background, and soon became a safe space for honest discussions. She was amazed to see the impact these initiatives had on the community. The emotional fragility that was once hidden began to be shared openly. Young people felt comfortable talking about their experiences, and in doing so, they started to find mutual support. This new approach not only strengthened the bonds among them, but also fostered an environment of acceptance. Over time, the mental health program expanded. She began incorporating artistic activities into the workshops, allowing participants to express their emotions through art. This fusion of art and mental health proved to be extremely effective. The young people were encouraged to create works that reflected their experiences, helping them process complex feelings. Thanks to this approach, she witnessed many young individuals transforming. Those who had previously been immersed in loneliness and insecurity became more confident and engaged. The environment at the NGO was filled with energy and creativity. Art became a form of healing, and each new piece displayed was a testament to overcoming adversity. With this new direction, she also started forming partnerships with schools and other organizations. The goal was to broaden the reach of the initiatives and ensure that more young people had access to these important discussions. Research on mental health in schools showed that many students faced similar challenges, and she was determined to make a difference. In one of these partnerships, a mentoring program was created in schools where older students could guide younger ones. This exchange of experiences allowed young people to feel valued and heard. The idea that everyone has something to offer strengthened the school community. She was moved to see the positive impact of this initiative. The collaboration between the schools and the NGO began to generate a larger movement where mental health and art became central themes. Community support grew, and the visibility of the issues addressed expanded. The work that had started with a simple desire to help was now transforming into a legacy. She felt fulfilled, seeing how her actions were shaping a better future for those around her. The journey was not easy, but each obstacle she overcame led her to a place of strength and purpose. And so, as she walked new paths, she remembered that life is a series of chapters, each with its own lessons and experiences. She was ready to keep writing her story, with courage and determination, knowing that no matter what the future held, she had the tools necessary to face any challenge. Her journey was just the beginning. The connections she had made, the lives she had touched, and the changes she had helped create formed a web of hope. And as she looked ahead, she knew that the dance of life would continue, full of new opportunities to explore, learn, and grow. She started to realize that art and mental health were not just topics that could be addressed in lectures. They were essential for social transformation. Motivated by this understanding, she decided it was time to create an online platform. The goal was to gather resources for young people and their families, providing access to information about mental health, well-being, and artistic expressions. The idea for a digital platform emerged during a meeting with some of the youth from the NGO. In informal conversations, many expressed difficulties in finding accessible and understandable mental health information. With this need in mind, she began to draft a project that combined articles, videos, and interactive spaces where young people could share their stories. Building the platform required time and dedication. She partnered with health professionals, artists, and educators who contributed content and expertise. Each collaborator brought unique perspectives, enriching the proposal. The site would not just be a repository of information, but a space where young people felt safe to express their experiences and seek support. After months of hard work, the platform was launched. The enthusiasm in the community was palpable. Many of the young people who had previously felt isolated now had a place where they could connect. The site included discussion forums where users could share experiences, as well as Q&A sessions with mental health experts. The initial feedback was encouraging. Young people reported that they felt more comfortable discussing their difficulties and seeking help. Additionally, the platform began to attract the attention of educators and parents who wanted to understand the issues their children were facing better. As a result, the project's visibility grew rapidly. It organized a series of webinars to present the platform and discuss relevant topics such as anxiety, depression, and self-awareness. The events attracted participants of various age groups, creating an environment of collective learning. Community support intensified, and a network of volunteers began to form, eager to help maintain and update the site. The platform not only became a reference point for mental health, but also a catalyst for creativity. Young people started producing content, such as articles, personal stories, and even videos about their journeys. This production not only provided a means of expression, but also helped demystify taboos surrounding mental health. They were impressed by the courage many showed in sharing their stories. Each account was a step towards overcoming and accepting their experiences. Through the site, the positive impact began to spread to other communities. The experiences she had accumulated throughout her journey were now being amplified through the voices of young people. The success of the platform led to new opportunities. She began to receive invitations to speak at conferences about mental health and art, sharing her experience and the importance of the intersection between these two fields. Each talk not only expanded her network, but also raised awareness about the need to approach mental health in an accessible and inclusive way. Throughout this process, she realized that the fight for mental health was not an individual battle, but a collective issue. This understanding motivated her to seek collaborations with other NGOs and organizations that shared the same mission. Together, they began developing awareness programs and community events, creating a comprehensive support network. Community events became a platform to promote dialogues about mental health and art. Local artists and youth from the NGO came together to create murals and artistic installations, transforming public spaces into places for reflection and expression. These works not only beautified the city, but also served as visual reminders of the importance of caring for mental health. Over time, the community began to rally around these causes. Support groups were formed where people could share their experiences and find comfort in a welcoming space. She felt fulfilled seeing that what started as a personal project had now transformed into a collective movement. The impact of these initiatives made her reflect on the role vulnerability plays in our lives. Throughout her journey, she learned that strength was not only in overcoming challenges, but also in recognizing and accepting one's own fragilities. This understanding led her to be more authentic in her interactions, both personal and professional. She began to include discussions about vulnerability in the talks and workshops she facilitated. With that, others were encouraged to share their stories, creating a cycle of mutual support. Vulnerability, which was once a taboo, became a central theme in conversations. In this supportive environment, she saw many young people flourish. Those who once felt lost were now discovering themselves as leaders in their communities. The skills they developed through art and mental health discussions were shaping their identities and futures. Looking back, she realized how much she had evolved. The journey that began with an unexpected layoff was now guiding her toward a profound purpose. Each step she took led her to a place of fulfillment and meaning. Life, with its twists and turns, transformed into a journey she embraced. Her legacy wasn't just about art or mental health, but about creating a space where people could be heard and valued. She was determined to continue this mission, expanding her initiatives and seeking new ways to impact the lives of those around her. And so, with a heart full of gratitude, she was ready to face whatever came next. Every experience, every connection, and every story told brought her closer to her true essence. Life, in all its complexity, became a dance she was determined to perform with joy and purpose. Before you leave, do two things now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.